Hello! This tutorial will demonstrate how to work with the scheduling module of the iForge Ahead remote app, also known as iFAR. As we get started, I want to explain which of your appointment records will be available in iFAR. When you perform a sync with your iForge Ahead data, the iFAR app will load all appointments that occur in the future, as well as all appointments that have occurred within the last 3 months. So it doesn't show you a complete historical schedule of all your appointments in the past going way back in time, but it will always give you access to those appointments that occurred in the last 3 months, as well as all appointments in the future. Now let's get started from the home screen by clicking on the Schedule button. This will take us into the schedule list, which is organized 1 week at a time. In the upper left, it will always display what week you are currently viewing. And below that, the list shows 1 day at a time separated by a red bar, and all appointments that occur within that day are listed below in time sequence. Now the individual appointment bars that are displayed show information for the appointment based on your settings that have already been established in iForge Ahead in these schedule settings. Also, the right edge will always show you the starting time for each appointment. Now to move around within the schedule, you'll use this navigation tool called Jump Weeks in the upper right. You can move forward clicking the arrow that points to the right, as well as backward clicking the left arrow by any number of weeks, and the number is determined by this section in the center. So if we just wanted to move back 1 week from now, we'd click the back button, and now we're looking at the previous week. We can also change that number of weeks that we're moving by any number. We'll select 5 and move back 5 weeks. And that takes us to the week of April 8th, which in this case, there are no appointments scheduled for that week. We'll move back forward 5 weeks to the week of May 13th. And now I'm going to jump forward 2 weeks by selecting 2 and clicking the plus button. Now we're in the week of May 27th and going to add a new appointment in this week. We'll click the new button in the upper right, and like all the screens in iFAR, the data is arranged in panels, and we'll start with the place and time. And this panel contains the information that's required for each appointment. We'll need to set the location by selecting a client. And you'll notice that the start and end values are already populated. The system will default it to the Monday of the week you were on at 8 a.m. But of course we can change that. So let's change the date and time by selecting that field, just tapping in it, and you'll now get a control that has a calendar on the right and a time selector on the left. If you need to set it for a different day, just click on the day in the calendar. I'm going to leave this one set at the 27th, but I'm going to change the time by scrolling. And on a touchscreen device, such as a phone or tablet, you'll just swipe your finger up or down to move these values. I'll set it for 11:30 a.m. and then click the Set button. Now that value has been populated in the Start field, and you'll notice that the End field now shows it as 1 hour later than the Start. If you need more time at that appointment, simply tap in the End field, and while the calendar displays, you can't change the date because it needs to be the same date as the start time, but you can change the time. So let's make this appointment a little longer by going to 2 o'clock. And I'll set the hours for 2 and the minutes to 2 o'clock and click Set. Now, those are the fields you have to fill out for any new appointment. Those are required. There are some other fields under the More panel which are optional. The type of appointment will always be set to your default type, and in this case I'm going to change it from standard to tentative. And if you had a certain information that you needed to remember about this appointment, you can tap in the Note field and type a note. We'll click the Save button in the lower right, and now we're returned to the schedule list for that week and can see our new appointment. Now let's make a couple changes to this appointment by tapping on the row, and we're back in the detail for that appointment. You'll notice first that we have a new panel called Horses Scheduled. If you'd like to indicate which horses will be worked on during this appointment, you can tap that section and click Select Horses. This will show you a pop-up of all the horses for that particular location, and you can just touch on them to say which horses will be worked in this appointment. I've selected 3, and then we'll close this box, and now in the appointment detail we see those horses listed. And the other thing I'd like to do in this appointment is change it from tentative to standard. You'll notice that the type is gray, and if I tap on it, nothing happens. In order to make changes, you'll want to click the Edit button in the lower right. That will turn it to black, and we can then tap on it and select Standard. Once you've made those changes, click the Save button. Now the last thing I want to point out is that not all records in the iFAR app can be changed, as you're probably aware. If the record already exists in the iForge Ahead system, it's for read-only or for lookup purposes and can't be changed, but you can view it. The iFAR app will let you know which records can be edited if the edit symbol appears in the lower right. That concludes our tutorial on scheduling module. I'll remind you that when you're ready to sync new information back to the iForge Ahead system, from the home screen you'll click the gear symbol and then select Sync. Thanks very much.